I think we should be back. But the problem with YouTube, the problem with the YouTube stream is that I literally have to make a new one. Well, that's kind of the finicky thing of doing like a multi-stream. It's like, yeah, you kind of have to. It's like with Twitch, it's easier because if something like this happens, I just have to get back online. But for YouTube, it's like, oh no, like you have to literally you have to quite literally what is it? You have to quite literally make a whole other stream, which means anyone who is watching the stream that goes offline like won't know to just click to the other like stream or something. Like they have to be like sub to the channel and then like maybe go back to the sub feed or to the person's actual channel and like actually. Well, anyway. Yeah, that's just some complicated stream nonsense I'm saying. Yeah, that kind of sucks. The one guy that was watching me like won't know to click to the new stream. That kind of sucks. Maybe I'll just get up for a second. Just wait. Alright, let me see. Bum ba bum ba bum ba bum ba dum. Yeah, I might be doing this alone. I might be doing this alone. Yeah, I guess it is what it is. Alright. Let me see. So I'm just gonna start off with this, top 10 best Sonic games video from IGN. They posted this like a few days ago? So, let me just see what he says.
Sonic the Hedgehog's speed is unparalleled, and the only thing on this earth that can outmatch it is his popularity. The few video game characters are as iconic as the Blue Blur, but we're here specifically to celebrate
I feel like
inline Sonic video game series and pick the very best.
I feel like they
criteria here at IGN. We tried to
IGN, yeah. it should be an interesting ride.
These games stand the test of time.
I mean, to be clear, like, I'm not here to like, seriously take their opinion to heart. Like, no, I'm just kind of... I just want to see what they say. That's about it, man.
Some games like Sonic Adventure 1 and the original Sonic the Hedgehog are important to the Sonic series and set the very foundation for both 2D and 3D Sonic games to follow. But we felt they both didn't quite hold up as well as their sequels when judged by a modern standard. So they just missed a place on this list. But that doesn't diminish their relevance and impact on the Sonic franchise. Not at all. Now, the 10 games on this list are the ones we feel are the best examples of both classic and modern day Sonic style. So, with that said, here are our picks for the 10 best Sonic games as chosen.
So basically he's like, okay, so because these new Sonic games came out and they're like good, like it just kind of validates these the you know, the before games. Adventure 1 doesn't hold up as much as its sequel. I can personally say Adventure 1, man, I like Adventure 2 slightly better, but like, yeah, I have to acknowledge that even Adventure 1 hasn't aged well, but I still like it. And that's also me, like, judging it by, like, the PC version with mods, but if we're talking about, like, okay, number 10, Sonic Frontiers,
Sonic Frontiers
I mean...
is an undeniably messy first attempt at a more open Sonic game, but underneath all the jankiness and pop-in lies a great foundation.
Biggest SA2 guy there is, even you don't agree?
In November of 2022, boosting around
you know what it is with the adventure games? They're different. They are quite different, because like one has like the hub areas and all that. And it's like, and it's like the most fun part of Adventure 1 is obviously the Sonic levels, you know. The Tails levels, they go by so fast. I mean, you're essentially just flying over the Sonic levels like a few times and you're kind of done there. Let me see. First time the Knuckles treasure hunting thing was implemented, and like, you know, because you're able to detect multiple emeralds at once, you know, it does make those levels kind of easy. Not unfun, I guess, unless you get to the first time you play a Sky Deck as Knuckles is kind of not that fun until you like understand. Oh, you gotta tilt the whole stage, but it still messes with the gliding physics. I mean,
very own pace. The Starfall Islands is the Sonic series' first.
You know, Amy's section is kind of whatever. Big's section's kind of infamous. Gamma's, well, I don't think Gamma's section is too bad. I think a lot of people would have gripes with the time limit. There's honestly a lot to say there. And Adventure 2 is like Adventure 2 is like 3 sort of solid like gameplay types, and it's like purely level based, so you don't have to worry about getting lost in a hub world. But some people probably like getting lost in a hub world. They are quite different games. Add. Anyway, Sonic Frontiers at number 10 for this list. I mean, okay. I consider Frontiers to be like at least a good game, mostly experimental. That's just my that's my overall opinion on Frontiers. I mean, yeah, when you get to the bosses and like you get to the sick music and the fights and the cutscenes, those are pretty cool. The physics when you're going through the cyberspace levels is not great feeling, you know, because when you compare it to just Generations, like, yeah, it's like night and day. Like, at least from my experience, I felt like I was moving really slow, and my air boost went. Well, no, the air boost was weird because you kind of ascended when you did it. It acted as like a third jump. Like you could jump and then air boost to gain more height, and then you jump again. At least that's how it works in the cyberspace levels. Because once you're in the open zone, the physics are actually different. But it was a pretty weird. It was pretty weird feeling. Yeah, but it's also at the bottom of their list. It's at number 10. Well, let me see where this goes next. Sonic.
IGN might have given this particular game a significantly low score upon its
Are they?
release. The ardent fans of Sonic here at
They're talking about Unleashed. Like specifically Unleashed or both?
You could say. The Sonic Unleashed gets a bad rap, and conversations surrounding
this is Unleashed.
Its weaker elements, specifically the werehog bits. Now, a lot of the criticism.
Okay, and so they're grouping both versions together.
Entirely take away from the fact that when Sonic Unleashed is good,
they're showing mostly Unleashed though.
Sonic there's ever been. Released in November of 2000,
and there's the HD version.
One of the best looking Sonic games, despite being several years old.
Wait, could they also be playing this here for like because there's also an unofficial PC port? No way.
Now, the soundtrack is fantastic.
I wonder if he'll mention it.
Sonic Unleashed feels fast, which is important for any Sonic game.
The fact that they're including Unleashed, which is like, I mean, it's like almost fundamentally the same game, but it's not quite the same game.
Boxes, tables, enemies, and more. It's the most uneven of the mainline Sonic games, but we still feel it deserves a spot on this list.
Okay, Sonic 2's next. Unleashed is like, man, visually, I mean, the HD version visually is like amazing. Basically a Pixar movie in motion. But yeah, the thing is, the highlight is the daytime stages. Now, inherently, they're pretty challenging, but, you know, it is pretty fun and rewarding to revisit those stages and go back and just, you know, actually take the right paths. And once you have the upgrades and you go back, it's like way more fun because now you can take these like shortcuts you couldn't before. Yeah, and the werehog is like, it's the thing that kind of drags the whole experience down for like everyone. Personally, I don't hate the werehog. I might have a soft spot because I was also a fan of the classic God of War games, like the ones before Kratos went Norse. And the gameplay for the werehog is similar to like the classic God of War games. Almost down to a T, because there's literally like wide and straight attacks and the quick time events. Like they definitely took a lot of cues from God of War. The combat on werehog stages is certainly not Well, not even like classic God of War combat was super in depth, but the Werehog is somehow even less in depth than that. I think there's a lot of charm in PS2 and Wii Unleash. Solid boost gameplay is very charming. Wouldn't mind a boost game like that. It was interesting because it had like the action chain. It had the action chain system where it's like, okay, you're boosting, now you're ring dashing, now you're attacking, you're chaining these actions to. I assume you're getting a better score doing that. But I actually, you know what's crazy? I planned on replaying Unleashed this year, and then this freaking PC port of Unleashed came out. I'm like, oh my god. I might still play Unleashed. I don't know. I tend to replay a few Sonic games every year. So, do you really love God of War? Which is why the Werehog doesn't bother me. Kills the pace of Unleashed. It really does pad out the game, and especially for Unleashed, it is I think both games are mostly a Werehog game, right? I think in terms of the amount of levels, like I don't have the exact number of levels off the top of my head for daytime and nighttime Sonic, but like I'm pretty sure Unleashed is mostly a Werehog game in terms of level count. You know, and of course, daytime Sonic, like, his stages are just way faster, so it's like less stages and they're faster. Hey, you ain't boosting around that much, really. Yeah. My stream schedule is very inconsistent. The last time I streamed was like it was like the second to last day of the closed beta for Sonic Racing Crossworlds. Which, by the way, fun game, but the items... The amount of items on screen is just way too much. I saw a tweet that they're taking the feedback from the surveys and applying it towards the final release, which, yeah, here's hoping they tone that down. Boy, would I rate Sonic the Hedgehog 2 higher than this? I really like Sonic 2.
There's more zones, new enemies,
it's such a... I think in terms of level design, it is quite a step up from Sonic 1.
You gotta go fast. The new zones like Sky Chase gave
wow, what is this crusty footage? My man got this off an actual Dreamcast, Genesis, not Dreamcast. Can't be more of an inconsistent YouTuber than you. Yeah, try me, bud.
The supersonic transformation into the franchise by having players collect all 7 Chaos Emeralds in a...
I might cook once and then leave for 6 months. Goodbye.
To its lengthy list of improvements and additions that still holds up.
I've been meaning to make more videos because I recently like rebranded the channel. But I'll get to it when I get to it.
Speaking of Sonic the Hedgehog 2, Sonic
CD right next to Sonic 2. I mean,
confident version of Sonic the Hedgehog 2. It introduces us to Amy Rose and the version of Metal Sonic that we all know and loathe today.
There's Sonic 3 connoisseur, but Sonic 2 at 8 is crazy. I too am a Sonic 3 connoisseur. Sonic CD above. So this is why I was just thinking to myself, like this is kind of crazy because, I think people think like CD is just a weird game, right? Like, yeah, it's a Sonic game. The design is so weird because it has to accommodate for like past and future versions. So some of the level design looks a little confusing. Like, you just run around, you see rings in the wall, and you're like, what's going on here? And I mean, the physics... I mean, not the physics, but like the spin dash. The original spin dash that for this game is like really weird because it's not one that you rev up. It's like, you just have to sit there and charge the one level of spin dash before you can like let go. I think it really comes down to like the level design though. The bosses are kind of weird. They only take 3 hits. But also the bosses are just weird. The first boss, I mean, if you manage to get behind that thing, it's like dumb easy. And then there's like one that's like, oh, it's a pinball boss, but once you get to the top, all you gotta do is hit Eggman 3 times and he's done. I'm trying to think of like another one of the bosses that's like kind of strange. I mean, the final boss is kind of weird because he's just literally in like a freaking orb, and he throws parallelograms at you. I don't know, like.
The time travel star boost and trying to maintain your speed to make sure you properly
100% CD twice for Origins with like any other classic game before CD. Give CD the soundtrack. Yeah, the amount of music they made for CD is crazy. Like, really think about that for a second. There is a past, present, future, and good future version for each stage. That's actually crazy. And then on top of that, a Japanese soundtrack and a US soundtrack, two completely different ones. That's never happening again. That sounds like a tremendous amount of work. That, like when you really think about that.
It had it anyway, and since Sonic is trying to collect the time stones,
I kind of like the special stages.
Future where Eggman's plans are foiled.
Yeah, this boss is like, okay, well, if you just get through the bubbles and just hit him once, he's dead. The bosses were just like strangely easy. I mean, the Metal Sonic fight is legendary. But yeah.
I gotta say, catchy tunes no matter.
Sarah mattered. I want to find and kill the people who murdered my wife.
Yeah, you two like the special stages, don't get the hate for them. Could be skill issue, just why they rated. I don't want to assume that. But I mean, I don't know. There's so many different kinds of special stages. The half pipes, the blue spheres. Oh my God, Sonic 3 Knuckles at number 6. I don't think I like this placement, to be honest. I don't think I agree with this. And that's just okay. That might be biased because this is like my favorite Sonic game. So like, it's probably down here because of Sonic Mania.
While both are solid games as individuals, they feel incomplete. And so this combination offers a complete and rich experience. The level designs are some of the best in 2D Sonic history. Now, while it certainly felt built...
What 5 games are above Sonic 3 and Knuckles? I guess we'll find out. Watch them put, like, Sonic Advance 2 over this. Oh, you put Sonic Colors above 3 and Knuckles? I don't think I agree with this, buddy. I don't think I agree with this. I don't think so. Oh shoot. I mean, I really like Sonic Colors. You know what the problem is? This dude might say like, "Oh, this is like one of the better 3D Sonic games." And my guy, this is like 90, I want to say like 95% a 2.5D game. Right? That's what Sonic Colors is. Most of these stages are 2D. You can put colors over everything here besides Sonic 2 and 3. I feel the 2D games just have like a lot more consistency to them, you know? Like Sonic 1 is kind of, yeah, I can understand why he already explained like why Sonic 1 is like not on this list, or even Adventure 1. Well, that's contentious, but Sonic 1, okay, I kind of get you. Man, Colors. Is it going to include the DS version?
Has some of the most imaginative and
is he gonna pull a freaking Unleash and just put like both versions of the game in this one slot? Also, this is no, that's the Wii version. There was footage of Ultimate like just before this. Yeah, this is OG. This is Ultimate.
While heavily on rails, the sheer spectacle is a sight to behold. Now, Sonic Colors does an excellent job of blending that high-speed boost-centric.
You probably wouldn't put the DS version because that is a completely different game. Unleashed and Unleashed are like, they are different but are also quite similar. Whereas like Colors is literally Sonic Rush 3. So yeah, he's definitely just talking about the Wii game.
Any Sonic fan out there can enjoy to this day.
Yeah, it's man, but above Sonic 3 and Knuckles, that just doesn't sit right with me. It doesn't sit right with me personally. Also, I think this I could sort of judge it by the bits of art here, but this might be like Sonic Rush or something. Oh no, it's Sonic Advance, my bad. I'm freaking dumb. Sonic Advance? Over Sonic Colors?
Of a 2D Sonic game, Sonic Advance for the Game Boy Advance. Now, marking the first time Sonic made his way onto a Nintendo console.
I'm trying to think about this.
For our little blue friend after decades of
it feels almost fair to compare Sonic Colors to other 2D Sonic games, as Colors is mostly a 2D game. And with that being said, I still would not put Colors and Advance 1 over Sonic 3 and Knuckles. I wouldn't.
Sonic is far more expressive.
I mean, this game is cool and all, but like
the entire Sonic Advance trilogy includes some of Sonic's best outings from the post-Genesis era. Sonic Advance remains the best in terms of consistency. It's not only a great starting point for the Game Boy Advance series, but also had some of the best level variety out of the entire Sonic Advance.
The only game Advance is better than your CD. Advance went top 10 is crazy. They had to put one of them here. I wouldn't see them putting Advance 2 because it is much harder. In fact, it is the hardest of the trilogy, in my opinion. And Advance 3 is good, but also kind of strange because of the whole partner mechanic. It's interesting. But I think when most people are thinking of playing a 2D Sonic game, this is Advance 1 is just kind of it's sort of the modern classic experience. It's weird. Level design nosedives. Oh, you're talking about the freaking like the rocket base level. I know what you mean. and then when you get the Chaos Angel right here, like, oh man, you're sort of doing with like the Death Egg Zone anti-gravity nonsense. Oh, here's Adventure 2.
Sonic Adventure 1 laid the foundation.
It's been a hot minute since I played Advance 1. I do remember I freaking got to the true endings of the whole trilogy. Not on a freaking emulator, mind you. Like on the I have all of the games like on Game Boy Advance. Like on I played them on the Game Boy player for the GameCube. And I legit got the true endings for each of those games. Advance 1, not too shabby to get, because you literally just have to find the special spring and just get the Chaos Emeralds, la-di-da-di-da, whatever. Advance 2 was the freaking nightmare. That was the nightmare. You had to get like all the 7 of the little like gold star rings, and then make it to the end of the stage with that junk, and then you have to beat the special stage, and if you fail, you have to do all that crap again. Oh man, I had to look up maps to get that done. And Advance 3 wasn't that bad because you just have to find Chow, and then you replay the stage, and like the Chow gave you keys to the special stage. That wasn't too bad. S.A.2 is your favorite game of all time. Wouldn't put it above. Oh, man. Yeah. I love Sonic Adventure 2. I personally would not put it above Sonic 3 at least.
Now that base version of Sonic Adventure 2 is already damn good.
I think I think, yeah, for sure. Advance 2 is the worst. The absolute worst, the most challenging. Like, it's because inherently with the advanced games, they're on Game Boy Advance, which means the screen is like zoomed in, so you don't have a lot of real estate on the screen to work with. So it's like you're trying to avoid the bomb. Oh my god, the bottomless pits were crazy in Advance 2. Crazy, like dealing with all that and trying to find these stupid gold star. No, it was a literal nightmare. And I forgot. Excuse me, I forget. That had to be done with all 4 characters. All 4. Oh my god. That whole thing had to be done 4 times to get the true ending. And I think getting all the cast members of one of the characters, I think all of them like get you Amy. So there's actually 5 characters, but I don't think you have to get the special stage stuff with Amy. But yeah, still, that was a nightmare. Yeah, but I think Adventure 2 is up high here because I think it may be due to nostalgia. I think it may be nostalgia. We recently got Sonic X Shadow Generations, so this kind of is like we got that and also Sonic Movie 3, so this is kind of look at that just as I say it. Just as I say it.
Made their way into the Sonic the Hedgehog 3 movie.
Literally just as I say it. There's gotta be some bias here. I mean, Adventure 2 is a great game, but like, come on. They definitely put this on. They put this on this high on the list because of Sonic X Shadow Generations and Sonic the Hedgehog 3, the movie. Yes. Exactly. Because these releases got people nostalgic on freaking Adventure 2. I think I heard something about people are trying to get people to play the Steam version of Adventure 2 to get like a high player count for some reason because Sonic Movie 3 is out. They're just like, oh man, everyone's got to play Sonic Adventure 2 for some reason. Man. I totally think like that's why it's so high on the list. This movie and Shadow Generations, like, that's, yeah, it's like just talking about Sonic and Shadow's stages. Yeah, Knuckles and Rouge sections are not too shabby. I think the Tails and Eggman sections may be people's least favorite. But I mean, those aren't too bad either. The Chao Garden is amazing in Adventure 2. Chao Garden's amazing. Look at the variety. You could have like an Amy Chow, like all the kind of Chow breeds you could get is crazy. It's also the last time there was a Chao Garden, which is, man, let that sink in. Last time. This is the second and last time. After this, it's literally, no matter how many times we ask Sega for a Chao Garden, they just don't do it. Like, man, that's crazy. They won't even do like a Chao Garden like mobile game that could easily print them money, but they won't do it. They're just gonna freaking not do it. They'll put Chao in as characters for spin-off games, but they're never just gonna put an actual Chao Garden in a mainline game, I guess. But no, aside from that, like, yeah, raising Chao, doing the Chao raises, the Chao karate. There's like an exploit where you could like, if you like get like chaos drives and the animals, and you hand the Chao said item from like a distance and then remove it from them, you can actually pick it up and use it like unlimitedly. So like, yeah, you can kind of cheese the stat building, but I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that's what makes this a little better. It's just like, it's just kind of a thing.
Every Sonic fan's mind.
Yeah, infinite stats. I'm not saying I want that sort of thing for like a new Chao Garden, like of course not. I'm just saying like, hey, that's a thing. But I would totally, like in a new Chao Garden, I would totally raise I would totally raise a Chao like legit. You know, just considering the possibilities of you know, what a new Chao Garden may bring. Here's Sonic Mania.
Sonic Mania is easily one of
Love how yeah, because he said like those are the most fun. It's the most fun anyone has with the 3D Sonic games is like, yeah, the Sonic stages, Sonic and Shadow stages. Like this is why this is like why after Sonic 06, the latest Sonic games just focus on Sonic and his gameplay. We did not get any other playable characters in a mainline Sonic game up until Frontiers, actually. And specifically that last update for Frontiers where you could play as Tails, Knuckles, and Amy. Which is like, that's insane. That's like nearly 10 years of like not having like Sonic and his friends like playable.
Best 2D Sonic game since Sega pivoted to strictly third party. A game made by fans.
Love Mania, you know. Past me would put it above Sonic 2. I think it's kind of neck and neck. Sonic 3 is still the king. I think Sonic 3 is the king because the stages, all the stages in Sonic 3 and Knuckles are original. They back in the day, they made all those stages from scratch. Sonic Mania, I freaking love ya, but you only got 4 original stages, buddy. Like, I'm just saying. I mean, that's like one factor, but it's like, this is also kind of the de facto, like, classic Sonic experience you can hand someone, and they have a good time. That is to this game's credit. Like, this is just like, if you want to hand like a Sonic newcomer a classic Sonic experience, this would be it.
Even if it just stuck to the remastered and new versions of previous Sonic zones. But what truly makes it sing are the entirely original stages. Levels like Studiopolis and Mirage Saloon Zone offer.
And it's like, yeah, even though they use like mostly the old stages, they do put something in those old stages to make them a bit different. Add some gimmicks and junk. I think if they followed up Mania with an all original classics game, it would surpass Sonic 3. Mania was a crap ton of work, is a thing. This was like, from what I've heard, it was so much work. Like, it was just, I don't think there was like crunch happening necessarily, but I think trying to work with all the sprites and junk just put a real strain on people. You know, maybe that's why Sonic Superstars ended up being like a 2.5D thing. Nah, what are you doing? What are you doing, man? Come on. All right. It is quite clear why IGN made this list, right? Why would they put what? They put Adventure 2 at number 3. They put this at number 1. All right, that's what you're doing here. Okay, right? This is what you're doing. Okay. I think I'm gonna just play this.
When looking at the lengthy list of games featuring our favorite blue blur, there really is only one game currently to put at the tippy
Sonic X Shadow Generations at number 1. So
Sonic Generations that revisits and remixes.
I freaking love Shadow Generations, but number 1?
Generations of Sonic games. Sonic Generations was already many people's favorites in the franchise, and for good reason. But now, with the addition of Shadow, it's gotten even better. Even in 2025, Sonic Generations remains the greatest celebration of Sonic's history, and in our opinion, the best combination of both classic and modern-day Sonic gameplay.
That is true, Hero.
The remaster of this classic game is one that was welcomed among fans.
I can't help but think like, oh, it's just because this game just came out, and it's like it came out to rave reviews because yes, you're including was essentially a remaster of what was considered to be like the best 3D Sonic game, and then you also include the whole Shadow game, which is like phenomenal actually. you know, has some of the best 3D level design for Sonic games.
But it never falls into the trap of relying entirely on fuzzy feelings from the past. And with the addition of Shadow Story
Man.
during this time, we're treated to an all-new experience that seamlessly interweaves itself into the original generation's storyline.
All I'm thinking is like Sonic 3 Knuckles is like the best in my heart. It is, but
damn special, all while finding ways to make them feel distinct and fresh.
I imagine they had to really think about like all the other 3D Sonic games that come out and compare it to this, and it's like, yeah, when we're talking about stepping up quality, like this definitely did the trick.
Takes us back to the past, gives us a glimpse at his future.
You know, it's like Shadow Generations itself is already phenomenal. Sonic Generations is like timeless.
So those are our picks for the top 10 Sonic video games.
But like,
obviously Sonic has way more road ahead of him. So
I still have my gripes with classic Sonic and Generations because like his physics just aren't right. He basically feels like a nerf version of modern Sonic.
Also, this is our list here at IGN. Please feel free.
Yeah, it's their opinion. I'm not ragging them too much.
Even us here at IGN have vastly differing lists to this one. So we'd love to hear what
like there's never going to be a
right here on IGN.
There's never going to be a definitive list of like, you know, the top 10 Sonic games of all time, and our opinion is right, and your opinion is wrong. Like, it's never going to... It's like everyone's going to have... Like, I can make a top 10, and I'll be wrong to some people, and freaking right to others. I mean, this is just their opinion. Yeah, so Sonic 2, 3, way too low, yeah. CD in advance, top 10 is blasphemous. I really do like the Advanced Trilogy. Having at least one of them there, I feel like, yeah, Adventure 2 is your baby. Yeah, my favorite Sonic 3 and Knuckles. See, the point is, everyone has their favorite Sonic games. Obviously, there's people who just do not care about Sonic at all, and then there's just others who just kind of dislike every Sonic game. It's like, for those of us who do like the Sonic games, it can just differ a lot. Let's go to the next video. So, this is a video from Jeremy Killinger? I think that's how you say this name. This is a dude who put out the tier list for like the most useless a Sonic character has been in each respective game. Which I think are like great videos. Mostly great videos. In fact, yeah, mostly great videos. He recently put out ranking the difficulty of every Sonic game, so we're gonna check this out next. Let me see here. Let's click that back.
Sonic the Hedgehog, a series renowned for its fluctuating quality standard and ever-evolving speed-centric gameplay. This guy's had so many different incarnations and gameplay styles.
I gotta say too, like, it's just crazy to get like a simple idea for a YouTube video and then it just absolutely blows up. It's the dream, man. Just when you think of a simple idea no one really is like trying to do, and you make a video of it, and then it's just like, wow, everyone loves it. It's like, man. Just imagine. Anyway.
And the difficulty scale is all over the place, with some games targeting a broader demographic and others asking way too much of the player. Today, we're looking at every main series Sonic the Hedgehog game and ranking them from misery to cakewalk. The first Sonic the Hedgehog game, when played on the original Genesis, is brutal. On your first playthroughs, there's so many unfair enemy placements, traps, and straight up bullshit to just eat away at your lives and force you to replay stages again and again. There's actually only 7 zones in the game, and 3 of them are really high speed and fun to romp through.
Oh, this is a Sonic Origins version.
Zone, Labyrinth Zone, and Scrap Brain Zone, which get harder and harder for all the wrong reasons. Now, in Sonic Origins, having unlimited lives, a spin dash, and less glitches does make it a lot more manageable,
but that
is
not
a separate entry later on, and this game, as it was designed, is genuine misery.
So, yeah, it's hard because when judging this by the original version, yeah, the one thing that comes to mind when I think of Sonic the Hedgehog 1 and its difficulty is no iframes. When you fall into a pit of spikes, there's no iframes, which means that you literally just fall into the next bit of spikes right there and you die. And yeah, there's a lot of times where you're getting crushed by things, and then there's just Labyrinth Zone in general. This whole game also does the thing where it's like half the stages are kind of speed-centric, and the other ones are like more slow and monotonous, more platform-focused, more platforming focused, I should say. Misery tier? Yeah, probably. Yeah, it's pretty hard. It's hard for me to not say it's hard because like I've been through this like several times, but yeah. Like if you were to hand a newcomer Sonic 1, they would not have a good time. They would get through like Green Hill Act 1. Not sure if they get through all of Green Hill.
And just a more seamless experience.
Not even sure.
Not an easy one though, especially compared to others in the series. Like the first game, there's no save states, so it has to be beaten in one go, and you'll still be losing plenty of lives, especially in the notorious Metropolis Zone, which does trigger some.
This is I freaking don't like this place. And I could get through it, but it is these corkscrews and these freaking mantis enemies, and also the starfish enemy Asteron, that's actually its name. So bad. You have to watch the walls as you're going up this thing. It's not fun.
Flashbacks with the rage-inducing enemy placements, but I'd take this over
just literally the mantis and the starfish are like.
So good challenge it is.
That's what makes that so hard.
Hey, it's me. Your dry skin. Hey,
What is this commercial trying to tell me? Anyway.
Sonic CD feels quite a bit different from Sonic 2, but they're both hard in their own way. I feel like the levels are a bit easier here, being more focused on exploration than speed and reaction time, but the time travel mechanic makes things a lot more complicated, and it's not always for the better. Overall, it balances out to be about the same difficulty as Sonic 2, so I'm sticking it right there with it.
Sonic CD is about as difficult as Sonic 2? It's hard for me to say. I feel like when you travel to the past, maybe the levels get easier when you're in the past. It's hard to say. I would almost, part of me wonders if like the past and present thing almost acted as like a difficulty slider for stages, but no, maybe not. And I think like some level gimmicks actually get removed in the past. Special stages are like not the most challenging, especially when you because like there's a time limit in the CD special stages, and you could like destroy the blue UFO and get more time. You just have to try to touch the water. Maybe I agree. It might be like slightly less challenging than Sonic 2.
Follows the CD approach of being more exploration based, but this time the layouts are way less confusing and way more engaging. All the unique environments are really enticing to venture through, and there's a real natural progression in difficulty, but it doesn't pick up in the final act nearly as much as previous games. Also, there's a save system, the elemental shields are really freaking useful, there's plenty of branching paths and easier routes, and Super Sonic can be obtained really early on to make the game even easier. Now, it is a good bit longer than the previous games, and it still has its fair share of tough platforming and even a couple tricky bosses, so I'll give it credit as a middle-of-the-pack difficulty.
I think I agree with this. I think so. Obviously playing through the game as Knuckles is harder. He like Knuckles is straight up hard mode, but also at the same time he has less stages. I mean, should I attribute length to difficulty? I don't think so, but yeah, Knuckles is makes the level layouts with Knuckles a little more challenging, especially the fact that like, you know, Knuckles has like a shorter jump, but he can glide though, so he has some advantages. And yes, being able to get the super form characters so early does make this easy. Like every time I play Sonic 3 Knuckles, I always focus on getting the Chaos Emeralds. And then when it comes time to get the Super Emeralds, I focus on that. And once that's done, I'm blazing through. You know, sometimes I'm doing the super form and I'm just sometimes doing some hypersonic nonsense, and yeah, I give it middle difficulty for sure. I think that's about right. Okay, like this game is I'm gonna let him explain, but I think it is like not the hardest game. I think it's at least like challenging. I mean, it's not. I think it's only challenging because of how you have to perceive isometric platforming, and that's about it. And I think I'm trying to think about these. I'll just let him talk.
3D Blast is probably the
because maybe he'll jog my memory.
There's not even much platforming to compensate for that. Instead, you just walk around.
There's like some towards the end you gotta worry about, but not
the
like.
awkward way Sonic controls and the weird isometric perspective that you never quite get the hang of.
It is
Without
really
the
the
clunkiness,
perspective
it'd be a
that kind of
cakewalk, but as
makes
it
this
is,
weird
it's
to
still
play.
kinda easy.
Kind of easy. Personally, I had some trouble with like the end game, but I ended up getting through it. It really is. I think that's the only thing. I mean, aside from the game feeling like you're on ice the whole time, like the isometric stuff is what makes it a bit tricky. The special stages are actually pretty easy. Actually, they're really easy. And you could get like as long as you find Tails and Knuckles in each stage, like you could definitely, you have a lot of shots at getting the emeralds.
Sonic Adventure is such a stellar first attempt at a true 3D Sonic game. His classic moveset translates.
Personally, I do not think Adventure 1's a hard game, but I think it'd be a hard game for others.
And the level designs feel more like sandboxes to explore Sonic's mechanics with. It's great. That said, I don't remember a single Sonic stage that really tripped me up. The only time I died was in that Egg Viper fight, and that's because I thought it was over before it actually was. But that's not to mention the 5 other gameplay styles and story modes, which are just as easy. Most of them take like an hour, and the ones that don't still don't pick up the challenge at all. Hell, even the perfect chaos fight in the last story is all bark no bite. The only thing that makes this game hard is the dated camera. It does get in the way at times and make things feel a bit jank, but it's not as bad as it's often made out to be, and doesn't make a case for anything higher than a kinda easy tier.
That Egg Viper was a bit tricky for me back in the day. Could be Adventure 1 as a kid solely because of big stages. Yeah, when I was a kid, I simply just got lost in the hub world. I didn't know how to progress. It was just purely like me being yeah. That's SA2 being first game you ever beat. Yeah, I beat SA2 before I beat SA1 because SA2 was a freaking linear game. I didn't have to worry about like, oh, how do I get to this stage or how do I get to that stage? I got lost. And I specifically remember my younger brother really liking Adventure 1 because he could ride the train back and forth. He just likes trains. But yeah, Adventure 1 definitely on the easier side. He doesn't mention, I don't think he mentioned Big the Cat at all. But that was just that big sections are not exactly like hard. They're just kind of weird and confusing.
Adventure 2 definitely picks up the difficulty compared to the original. Now, there's only 3 gameplay styles, so having less clutter and there being more
Adventure 2
master these styles allowed the developers to challenge you more and more, and the latter half of this game completely
What about this game freaking
Meteor Herd's vast
trippy?
Oh,
right, this.
A nightmare. Crazy Gadget and Final Rush up the stakes a ton with more enemies, death pits, and precise platforming, and the last story
I guess these were, especially Cannon's Core.
Was awesome. Doesn't quite reach that classic caliber of difficulty, but it certainly has its moments.
Yeah. I think it is a bit harder than Adventure 1. I think Cannon's Core especially, I guess that was mostly me trying to figure out how to get through it. And then once I got the Sonic section, I think like something in this section like tripped me up. I forget. But definitely spending way too much time on Meteor Herd and Mad Space, that killed me back then. Oh man, that was trying to decipher the backwards like left letters and junk. Other than that, like everything else is kind of easy. Yeah, and that's kind of the thing. Like, it's a bit of bias because, like, yeah, I played Adventure 2 a bunch. You probably played Adventure 2 a bunch. Yeah, I think those treasure hunting stages were like 5 minutes should be plenty. Yo. Yo. Oh yeah, those treasure hunting stages, I think that was like the most time consuming parts. I was trying to remember like one of Tails' stages that was messing me up a lot. I think it was like the Eggman fight, like the second one. That was kind of tricky.
The entire Sonic Advance trilogy is pretty consistent.
Okay, he's grouping the whole Advance trilogy.
Everything's very fair. It controls well. Each one takes like an hour or two to beat, and there's save states with plenty of extra lives. So it's very forgiving and really doesn't pose much challenge at all. Also, having multiple playable characters lets you play through the game with whatever moveset you like the most, which can make it even easier. It has some quality platforming here and there, and Advance 3 especially feels a bit more complex, but it can't go higher than kinda easy, and that's being generous.
Now, what did I just talk about earlier? I don't know about grouping all three together like that. I described Advance 2 being the hardest, mainly because of, like, getting the emeralds, but I also feel that its level design and the amount of pitfalls makes it a pretty challenging and kind of frustrating game to get through. Man. Personally, if I was like ranking these separately, Advance 2 would definitely be like hard. Advance 1 would be like, I almost want to say Advance 1 and 3 are like the same difficulty. But I'm also kind of leaning towards putting Advance 3 maybe lower because when you're playing a really busted team in that game, like Tails and Knuckles, like, all of a sudden your movement is, like, insane, and you really have to worry about falling, like, yeah, but Sonic Advance 2 for sure is, like, really, it's pretty hard.
Generous. Sonic Heroes shakes up the formula a ton and introduces a new team mechanic.
I think Heroes is like
flight and power archetypes to overcome all kinds of obstacles. The level designs play into this really
Let me just hear
well,
what he says.
There's also a lot, and I mean a lot, of bullshit. For starters, where previous games have optimal routes that really don't halt your flow at all, this one introduces mandatory enemy waves that force you to slowly and tediously beat up a bunch of robots with health bars. Combat is not fun, and even a lot of the speed is moved on rail, which would normally be alright, but the rail grinding does not work as it's supposed to, and leads to many unfair and frustrating deaths.
Yep, I feel that.
Levels take upwards of 15 minutes. Dying to janky controls after sinking that much time into a stage is infuriating. Even still, just the Team Sonic playthrough is a pretty moderate challenge, but to actually beat the game and fight Metal Madness, you have to complete the other three storylines, and they recycle all the same stages and feature the same core gameplay, which gets repetitive as f***. That's why I've never beaten this game. Honestly, it wears you thin. It has promise and fun moments,
man.
but completing it is miserable.
Okay. Alright. I understand. I completely understand. Yeah. I like Heroes. Yeah. Oh my god, I gotta kill this bot. I am a Heroes fan. He's not, but like, man, that, I tell ya, that is okay. Well, I kind of lost my train of thought. Yes, I agree. Going through all the stages over now. Granted, they are different because when you change teams, like yes, the layout of the stages changes a bit. And also it's like, okay, Team Sonic is like normal mode, Team Dark is like hard mode, and Team Rose is like easy mode, and then Team Chaotix is like the mission mode, quote unquote. So I feel like Team Chaotix stages kind of offer a little more variety. But yeah, also being like having to actually get the Chaos Emeralds. I mean, the special stages aren't that hard, but it is the fact, as you said earlier, like you can't get hit. You have to get the key in what is essentially Act 2 of each area, and then get to the end without getting hit. Now, the easiest way to actually alleviate that is just do it with Team Rose. If you do it with Team Rose on their easy and short stages, you're good. Other than that, yeah, the combat, it feels slippery. It feels like you gotta be really, really careful or you'll fall off platforms. Or, you get stuck with the egg, with the, I forget that, I don't know if this guy's a name, but the big, Eggman robot with the hammer. If it swings its hammer, you get hit by it, you get knocked off the platform. I'm thinking about the, like the robot nightmare thing that happens after after like Hang Castle and what is it, Mythic Mansion? Like after those stages, like yeah, dealing with those robots. And oh my god, Final Fortress, for as much as I like its music and its aesthetic, it is a pretty long stage and you gotta deal with the lasers and junk. Yeah. It's got its quirks for sure. Rocket League, I don't really play this anymore. I tried it, it's pretty freaking hard. I don't know.
Shadow the Hedgehog is an interesting case. The gameplay is somewhat similar to the adventure games, but then he's got a gun and commits a bunch of homicides, so each level gives Shadow options. He can choose to help the heroes, help
Here's the
Eggman,
fun game master,
or
kind of miserable
Batman.
against that
So
points.
depending on which way you want to go, it can be an easier playthrough or be loaded with rage bait.
People say they want a Heroes remaster, and I feel like a lot has to be done with that game to make it, like, acceptable into the modern age public eye, right? That game, because, like, I get the game, so, yeah, I can play through it. I still die to some jank sometimes, but, like, yeah. For a lot of other people, I watched a video of an indie game. I think it was called, like, I don't know, like Roland Rascal, whatever it was. And this dude was doing multiplayer and he was mentioning like how hard it was for other people to like get through a stage. Like, because it has like Sonic like gameplay, but you just notice like people really don't get this. Like, our 3D Sonic game's just hard and we're just not seeing it. It really puts things into perspective.
Some objectives are jank and have these crazy difficulty spikes, but most routes are generally pretty straightforward and not too bad. Now, if you're going for the true ending and 100% completion, you're in for an awful time, because you have to play through the same game like a dozen times, accepting different missions and whatnot, and that's absolutely brutal. But to reach the
Actually, it is 10. Anyway.
credits, it's not too bad. I like has its moments for this one. A single
What's that
playthrough
then?
can be pretty light, but trying to do everything makes it absolute hell.
I was gonna talk about Sonic Rush. Shadow's hard because it's a collection game and linear stages. No map or radar. Lost Impact. Shadow is... So, what's interesting is that Shadow is on the same engine as Sonic Heroes. Like, literally, like... I think even that model of Shadow is, like, just a more detailed version of his Heroes model, I think. But, other than that, man, some levels could give people trouble, for sure. The best part, so like, yeah, trying to keep track of all like, oh, you gotta kill all these enemies, or you gotta kill all of these enemies in one stage. You could miss one, and you're like scrambling around for like 30 minutes trying to find that one enemy. Oh man. But I think just playing through the stage, like doing the linear routes is actually a fine old time, which is why I consider like expert mode to be like the best part of the game. But you have to get all A rank to unlock that junk. And like I know things get fixed up in Shadow Reloaded, but that's not what we're talking about here.
This game introduces the boost style, and that does make a lot of future games a good bit easier.
But yeah, those freaking Space Colony Arc levels where they're like so sprawling and maze-like, those were probably
is actually posing a serious threat. It's
that
definitely
probably
a step
caused
up from
people a
the
lot of
Advanced
trouble.
trilogy. I think it has its moments.
So he's saying like this is
Being fairly challenging, and the boss is actually posing a serious threat. It's definitely a step up from the Advanced trilogy. I think it has its moments.
yeah, it's a lot more fair than the Advance. There's still bottomless pits and junk in Rush and Rush Adventure, but definitely not as hard as the Advanced games. Rush suffers from the same fate as the Advanced games that dimps level design. Yeah, true. Yeah, it still has all that, but I mean, I feel like it's more alleviated in like Rush Adventure, if I recall correctly. But I still think like Rush is still like easier than like the Advanced games.
I've made my thoughts on Sonic 06 pretty clear over the years. I don't think it's all that bad. I know it's unpolished and the story's a bit weird, but the level designs are great and the gameplay has so much potential, with Project 06 being clear evidence of that. Also, would you guys want to see me do a video on that? Let me know down below. But in terms of difficulty, I think the game is pretty balanced. I think there's a ton of glitches that make certain segments unnecessarily hard, like the Mach Speed sections, climbing with Knuckles and Rouge, and every segment, but I still don't think
Let me see that again. Let me see that again.
necessarily hard, like the Mach Speed sections, climbing with Knuckles and Rouge, and
Oh, look at the why? Why? Oh my god. This is like the most unfinished thing in the game. They couldn't even make Knuckles and Rouge get off these stupid walls.
every freaking vehicle segment, but I still don't
Yeah,
think
just
it's
give it
close to
misery.
miserable.
Yeah.
The fight against Silver, okay, a little miserable. The desert level with
It's
the giant
it's
billiard
the
balls,
fight against Silver is
okay, very
miserable when you
miserable, but those are pretty cherry
like most
picks, and
like
I still had
obviously
fun with this one overall. I'd say
you have to
it
know
has
how to
its
get
moments of
past
pain,
that.
but it's mostly pretty moderate.
Moderate, he puts it. 06 can be slow, tedious, glitchy, buggy, just every sort of bad quality from a game. There's some bad character designs, like Amy. I think she's like the worst design character. Couldn't beat Silver as a kid to say. Me neither. I had to look it up. And turns out you just have to run away from him. But, you know, I didn't know that back then. I was so frustrated. Took me, I got to, the first day I played 06, man, when I played 06 back then, it was on my dad's 360. I didn't have my own 360. Not till like Christmas, but until then I had to like play on my dad's 360 while he was at work. And when I got to Silver, I just could not beat him for that day. Oh man, I spent quite a bit of time trying to figure that one out. But yeah, Mach Speed sections could be frustrating. You could die pretty easily there. And as I said earlier, some badly designed characters like Amy. I think Blaze is like really fun though. Silver, while neat, was kind of a tedious to play as well.
It's high noon, and the winners.
I'm trying to think about all the
7 out of
characters.
10 cats prefer blue tasteless chicken to Heinz chicken. I would.
Oh, well, Tails was just stupid because of the ring bomb thing and how, oh, you go into first person with no reticle and you're throwing ring bombs that drop fake rings, but then you get hit and you're trying to pick up the real rings, but you keep touching the fake rings, and it's like you see, that's just the dumb thing. The snowboarding was broken. Yeah. Shadow's vehicles had a lot of jank. They just took damage really easily from like very small falls. Or like the hang glider you could barely control well. God, what other character was in that game? Anyway, yeah, Sonic 06. Maybe not the hardest thing, but it's like tedious to get through.
Rush Adventure is pretty similar to its predecessor, but there's way less.
Yeah, Rush
interesting
games are great.
gameplay and way more focus on story and gimmicky vehicle sections. It's a lot more tame than the original and doesn't pick things up as much in the climax, but there's still some challenge and it's not mindless. I like kinda easy here.
I was gonna talk about Unleashed. Rush Adventure, yeah, it's in terms of the bottomless pits and junk, it is a bit more toned down. Those are still in the game though. But yeah, because it's focusing more on like the vehicular stuff. I mean, well, yeah, there's quite a bit of that. That's not like the hardest thing to do. There's also like these. I think there's about 30 like mini stages, the little challenge islands. I don't remember those being so bad either. Yeah, it's really not that hard of a game. How were the special stages? Those were like, oh wait, the special stages were literally the races with Johnny. I remember. Actually, some of those were pretty hard. some of the later ones were pretty hard. The Johnny races.
Sonic Unleashed is really a double-edged sword. The daytime stages that feature the boost style in 3D are masterfully crafted, lightning fast, and enjoyable as hell. They're not hallways like some later games, but they're still relatively easy for the series, and it's the nighttime stages that kick things up a notch, and not in a very good way. Slow and uninspired platforming that's constantly interrupted by enemy waves that feature lackluster hack-and-slash gameplay. It's a rough combo to work with, and on original hardware, they didn't run the best either, so it was a laggy and mundane experience. I wouldn't necessarily call it hard if it weren't for these two really big setbacks. First, if you thought Sonic Heroes had long levels, you might want to sit down, because some of these Werehog stages take like 20 minutes. 20 minutes for one level, and if you god forbid get a game over, you're starting all the way over again, buddy. The second big problem applies to the entire game. You don't just beat a level and move on to the next one like, you know, a normal game would. Instead, they have these paywalls for progression that require you to
oh my guy's bringing this up.
Medals. And this requires an insane amount of backtracking that makes a full playthrough kinda miserable. The Werehog levels are already slow, so keeping your eyes peeled for these isn't a problem, but the daytime stages are designed for you to fly through, and having to slow down to look for collectibles contradicts that entirely. Because
I forgot that one was there.
Is incredibly straining and deserves to be in misery tier.
There's a lot to say about Unleashed, right? Because yes, what I feel is the most challenging part of this game is getting through the daytime stages. They are well designed, but there are so many pitfalls, so many enemies and traps. You're gonna feel like trash the first time you go through the Unleashed daytime stages. But then it's like the subsequent playthroughs are gonna get better. But then there's like the Werehog, and the Werehog just has some platforming jank. And like if you don't upgrade your like strength and life well enough, then it's like, well, I guess the Werehog would be considered to be a lot more tedious than challenging. Sometimes you can get surrounded like by a bunch of enemies that give you a hard time, but it's not the worst thing in the world. Though it could be the worst thing in the world for some people. It's just some people just really don't gel with the Werehog gameplay, and the daytime stages are just challenging. It even says on the back of the Unleashed case, it literally says like these are like challenging worlds, and they are not kidding. Many people hold this game in high regard because you watch most play. They haven't. Yeah, that kind of goes back to what I was saying about the whole Roland Rascal like multiplayer thing I saw, and how like most people just don't get how like high speed Sonic like gameplay functions. Yeah, because it's kind of like playing a racing game. It's like playing a racing game and you gotta like outmaneuver these traps and junk and like dodge things. It is pretty challenging. And then of course the progression, having to collect the Sun and Moon medals. Now you could alleviate this by collecting every Sun and Moon medal in each hub area. And also giving souvenirs to Professor Pickle. He gives you some Sun and Moon medals. But I distinctly remember the first time I played through Sonic Unleashed back in 2008, and I could not move on to on certain stages. I think it was actually just Adabat, or I think one time it was Spagonia, then one was Adabat. But yeah, just that progression system of, oh, you gotta go back and collect the medals, and it's kind of a miserable time on the daytime stages, but, you know, nighttime you could find them a lot easier, but those are also really long stages that could also be full of, like, tedious platforming, and, you know, you gotta push blocks and junk. Wow, you gotta push blocks, ain't that crazy? Yeah. It definitely
Eggman
deserves to
Land
be
might be the
up
hardest
there.
level in Sonic history, so that practically locks it there.
Yeah. And of course, the cherry on top of it all, Eggman Land. Like, the most difficult level Sonic Team has ever conceived, in my opinion. This... What a jump, by the way. Like, this is just crazy. So, some of the hardest boost level platforming I've seen. And then you gotta get past these Werehog... You gotta get past this Werehog platforming that you will easily die on, especially this section right here where you gotta like do the tippy toes on the pipes, you know? Like, yeah, this is yeah. I don't think they made a stage harder than Eggman Land. I'm trying to think.
The first episode of Sonic 4 plays things very safe. It feels like the new Super Mario Bros. Of the Sonic series, primarily made for a handheld device, brings the character back to their quote.
Yeah, this game's on
roots,
freaking
and it's a very
iPhone
generic-feeling
and
platformer.
junk.
The level designs are way easier than the classic games, and having the homing attack makes that even easier. I think we've got our first cakewalk tier with this one.
Yeah. Sonic 4, super easy. The homing attack and like the not classic physics doesn't make it feel like a classic game at all. It feels like a 2D modern game, minus the boosting, in my opinion. That homing attack definitely cemented. Like, you're pretty much just doing the aerial staircase thing like over and over in the game.
Sonic Colors tries to be a more beginner-friendly
It was
Sonic game,
not designed to be,
especially
like,
because it was
challenging.
A Wii exclusive at the time of release, so they basically wanted to cash in on Mario fans. It's technically a 3D Sonic game, but almost all the platforming and, well, gameplay takes place in 2D, and it's not afraid to slow things down. The new Wisps make traversing levels a lot easier. They're gimmicky and either have sections designed for their specific use, or they help you bypass trickier chunks of level. It still offers some more difficult moments, they're few and far between, but it does keep it out of cakewalk tier.
Which was so difficult they made every game after that piss easy. Yeah, it did. I think the difficulty may have been a criticism aside from like glitches and the Werehog, and Sonic Team just took that to heart and just decided to make every other Sonic game easy. Like Colors. Yeah, Colors is pretty easy. I never even had to look up a guide to get like the red star rings either. I could just find, like, even though I don't remember every location by heart, I could just find them. They're pretty easy to find. The stages, not too difficult. Even the ones that kind of seem like they are, like there's some ones designed for some kind of little wisp platforming challenge. Not that bad. Yeah, they definitely, I think especially because it's on the Wii, which is like the casual console. Yeah, they definitely had to make this one, easy. I wonder if he includes any storybook games. Probably not. I don't think so.
Sonic Generations has the most polished gameplay and levels.
Generations is just easy.
Everything's so refined and fun, and it really
has really good level design, but it's also just easy.
The classic levels may be a little boring, but they're not hard, and the modern stages are all really easy, with S ranks being attainable in just a couple runs. I'm not complaining though. It feels great and is satisfying as hell, but it's definitely kinda a cakewalk. When paired with Shadow Generations though, yes, still a cakewalk.
I thought he was going to be like
cakewalk. When paired with Shadow Generations, though, yes, still a cakewalk.
Yeah, Shadow Gens isn't that hard either. It's like, I think it's about the same difficulty, actually. I think Sonic game being easy makes it, yes. I was saying earlier when I was playing some of those Unleashed DLC levels, like, they need to, Sonic Team needs to do this again, right? Make some DLC levels that are more challenging. Or make some challenging endgame stuff. You know, go the they did this with Lost World on 3DS. I forget if you had to like collect every red star ring and then get hard mode, but like Lost World 3DS had a straight up hard mode. Like basically just harder alternates to like the main stages. I think they only give you like one ring to get through them as well. That was interesting, but I think Sonic Team could really do with like making some DLC stages that are more challenging. I mean, they did with Frontiers, with some different cyberspace stages that were a little more challenging. Like there were some races that were a bit more challenging. Lost World 3DS is misery. Lost World 3DS is a weird case of a Sonic game that's actually fine at the beginning and then gets worse the more you play it. And the special stages are terrible. So actually, maybe you're right.
Compared to Sonic 4 Episode 1, the second part picks things up a little, but not much. The level design is much improved from the first game, and it actually feels like a decently substantial playthrough, so I'll say it's a step up and kinda easy.
The only improvement they made with Sonic 4 Episode 2, because in the first episode, if you spin dashed up a ramp, Sonic would actually uncurl, and so you could not land on enemies and like destroy them. You would just get hit. So for Episode 2, they refined it so that you stay in the ball. And that's like the only improvement I could recall. I mean, yeah, the level design is a bit nicer, but I think having to constantly stop and do the tails tag action does slow the gameplay down. So there's that. But the graphics are nice, and actually I like some of the music. I especially like the, oh man, I'm blanking on the name of the stage, but you know, the Sky Fortress stage, like that music's pretty nice. And the winter like carnival stage having that little bit of a melody to like Twinkle Park from Sonic Adventure, that was also a nice little touch. Yeah. Now let's see what he says about Lost World.
Sonic Lost World once again shakes up the Sonic formula and gives him his first ever run button. What the f*** were they thinking? Parkour, cylinder...
They were thinking, let's make a Mario game. That's what they were thinking. And you know what? They succeeded. They made a Mario game. Well done.
Cylindrical levels, all cool ideas, but none of them were as prominent as they should have been, and like Colors, most of the game takes place in 2D, which is kind of a bummer too. That said though, it's a really clean playthrough, and it does actually offer a good amount of challenge late in the game. There's way harder platforming and parkour moments in both 2D and 3D, and the bosses go from mindlessly spamming your homing attack to actually needing some thoughtfulness and precision. I was surprised by the difficulty spike, but it felt very natural and wasn't abrupt or unfair. It's honestly a really good challenge.
Way too many gimmicks. Run button. Worlds that are literally new Super Mario Brothers aesthetic worlds. Also, like running around orbs like Mario Galaxy. Even bouncing from planetoid to planetoid like Mario Galaxy. Yeah, it is basically a Mario game. It is. That being said, and I guess he's not including the 3DS version, but the like Wii U / HD version, because it's also on PC. It's not the easiest Sonic game because it does legit have some challenging moments. That might be due to jank, but yeah, some of the late bosses they got a little bit of spice, a little bit of you go to Taco Bell and you get the hot sauce packet and you put it all over your tongue. Yeah, that kind. But other than that, yeah, it's not the easiest. By the way, all these Hero Wars ads are like totally fake. I mean, this is like a auto like idle RPG, and it's honestly crazy like how many ideas they come up with for these fake commercials. Like, anyway.
I haven't played Sonic Boom Rise of Lyric, I won't lie, but I know there's a glitch with Knuckles that lets you infinite jump, and that breaks any potential challenge to make this an easy cakewalk.
Okay, they patched that out first off. They definitely patched that out. Now, if you play an unpatched version, sure, it's a cakewalk. But okay, he said he never played the game, so I guess he wanted to include it anyway. Rise of Lyric, from what I've seen, I still haven't played myself. I think I want to get my hands on a copy of this. Yeah, he just wanted to slap it. He just wanted to slap it in. I mean, you don't want to take this opinion too seriously, but I mean, from what I've seen, it is like a run-of-the-mill kids like beat 'em up adventure game with some puzzling and junk. You could think of any other like licensed game that does that, and then think of this game, because Sonic Boom Rise of Lyric is not much of a Sonic game. Like, there are some like speed sections, but it's not. it is like not even a Sonic game. Like this is like a co-op beat 'em up game. You'd love to do a playthrough on your channel and everyone on the Wii U. Yeah, I have a Wii U. It's just in its box. I have the Wii U that has Mario Kart 8 with its DLC. And the box is just sitting on a shelf by me. I put it back in this box because, it's like collecting dust. And also, like, I have a crap ton of things on my dresser. I'm not really trying to keep it there. I don't know. I guess if I ever get a copy of this game, I'll probably, shoot, why not, right? I mean, may as well. Sonic Mania, I think he might put this like in the middle because while most would say, "Oh, this is an easy game," like this is also classic Sonic.
Of classic Sonic. The gameplay feels like
it could still and I know I said earlier, like, oh, if you wanted to introduce people to,
and the way it gradually challenges the
when you want to introduce people to classic Sonic gameplay, yeah, you hand them Sonic Mania. It's the easiest choice, but at the same time, new people are going to struggle because they don't know how these level gimmicks work. The Tank Monarch's the only hard thing here. Yeah, but people are going to struggle on freaking Flying Barrier and Oil Ocean and junk. I mean, they'll get through it. I think so here's what I think the problem is. There's a life system. there is a life system. If there was not a life system, I think that would make this way easier to get through. I honestly think they should have put like a unlimited life thing, like unlimited life option in this game.
The player feels almost identical to Sonic 2, being very focused.
And that's like the only thing I would like add to make this like a bit more digestible for newcomers.
For that, and secures it a spot in good challenge tier.
All right, y'all already. Y'all already know. Come on. It doesn't say. Oh man. Oh my god. You know what? As I'm overreacting, I'm thinking about modern Sonic, but no, let's just go through it.
Sonic forces me to play this fucking game. It's bad. The classic levels drag, the modern levels are straight lines, and the custom characters are straight
yeah,
up.
they are.
In terms of pure difficulty, it's a cakewalk, but trying to play it all the way through without falling asleep may pose more of a challenge. Still, wait.
Okay. So, yes. I was inherently thinking about modern Sonic's levels. They are just some of the easiest and kind of nothing levels in like the whole franchise, right? 100% this game during COVID, really easy with classic Sonics. Yeah, they made remember earlier I talked about how like I didn't like classic Sonic's physics in Generations, but his level design's still pretty fine in Generations, but in Forces, for some reason, they made him worse. My lord, his last stage is an auto-scroll. Why would they do this? Like, physics are worse. They gave him drop dash, but I mean, was that super useful? I don't think so. His physics are worse. Why would they do it? Why would they do it? The Avatar is like, whatever. Classic Sonic. Yeah, the whole game's a cakewalk, but it's also just not good. Anyway.
Sonic Origins ties all the classic Sonic games into one package, and takes them from incredibly challenging playthroughs to honestly pretty cake. It cleans up some of the BS and gives you unlimited lives, which were the biggest reasons why those original games were so damn hard to beat. And with these quality of life improvements, they're very manageable playthroughs overall.
Yeah, pretty much what I said about Mania. If Mania had unlimited lives option, it'd be in the same tier as Origins Plus. Forces is a bit overhead. It's just such a nothing game. I don't think it's as unbearable as everyone says, though. Yeah, I have my grievances with classic Sonic the game. Avatar's just like whatever. And modern Sonic is kind of nothing. It's weird. He doesn't do anything new. Isn't that crazy? Like, before Forces was Lost World, right? And then like, well, Lost World was like a completely different game, but then before that we had the Boost games. It's like with the transition from Unleashed to Generations. I'm skipping Colors, even though it's like, yeah, Colors had the wisps. Generations just like completely refined the Boost style gameplay and just made the controls pretty much perfect. And then Forces, because it's on a different engine, on Hedgehog Engine 2. Actually, what they did was take stuff away. Sonic is actually a lot more stiff in Forces, and he loses his drift. And then his levels are just kind of nothing. Oh God. Oh, now that I think about it, man, that's miserable. Not in terms of difficulty, but that's just like bad. Anyway, what are we doing? If I had to, well, yeah, Origins. What did I say? Oh yeah, unlimited live thing. Yeah, it's manageable. That makes sense. Frontiers is like, well, let's just get through
Sonic
it.
Frontiers is a pretty tricky one to place, because Sonic's moveset is more versatile than ever, the open world gameplay can be a lot more chill and easygoing, and the cyberspace levels are pretty straightforward in design, but some S ranks can be almost impossible, the bosses are some...
He says some. He says some, and the level he shows is 1-2. One of the hardest S ranks to get for no reason. It was pretty fun to actually try and get it though. But it's like, man, this is the second stage, and this was like the hardest S rank to get. And then the rest of them were like cake. How crazy is that? And like this level is just the it's like the 3D parts of Windmill Isle Act 2 from Unleashed. Let's see. Frontier's easy, especially since you can fish to get through most of it. Yeah. That makes progression easy, but in terms of like the platforming, like the cyberspace levels are generally pretty easy. You don't have to play all of them. Combat, not the hardest thing to do.
Ranks can be almost impossible, the bosses are some of the strongest in the series, and the late game especially picks up the difficulty. I think it all averages out to a pretty moderate Sonic game.
It's moderate. There's also a it's not hard mode, it's like New Game Plus or something? I forgot what the mode was, but you can literally like have one-touch deaths. And I did actually beat the game through that mode, but you know, I had to I had to do like a lot of the quick progression stuff, like with Big the Cat and all that, just to I was trying to get through it quickly so I didn't have to do I had to play a lot of Frontiers with the one-hit deaths and all that, but I got through it. Heard the Superstar. Oh wait, I guess that's next. Fun fact, I actually still have not played this game. I actually have not played this game. I'll get to it, but yeah, I haven't played this game.
Sonic Superstars was way better than I thought it was gonna be, but that doesn't mean it's very hard. It may look like a classic Sonic game with a modern art style, but it feels pretty fundamentally different, with levels that are more linear and forgiving, and no real late game push in difficulty. Having a choice in who you play as also makes it a good bit easier. You can pick whichever character makes a given level more manageable, and that further waters it down. On the bright side though, the bosses are once again a strong suit, and the final one was one of the harder ones in the series, so that'll do just enough to lock it into kinda easy tier. And there you have it.
Kinda easy, huh? Yeah, like I have not played through Superstars. I mean, maybe it is easy. I don't know. I don't have much of a perspective on that one. That junk's on sale, right? It's like a spring sale. It's like $23, $27 for deluxe. I feel like this could go for a bit lower, right? It could probably go a little lower. It's not a top priority for me to play through that game, but I mean, I'll get to it. So right, this list. Sonic 1. Yeah. Heroes definitely does have some BS in it. As much as I like the game. Can't agree with his Superstars take unless you just have a major skill issue or something. Well, I'm gonna have to give that game a playthrough, and then maybe I have more of a perspective on it. Good challenge. Yeah. Has its moments. First time through, this is like misery. Sonic 06. Well, you can't see my cursor, but you know, just trust me, I'm hovering 06 right now. Yeah, Adventure 2. It's those treasure hunting stages that could take a while, but well, no, now I think Adventure 2 is easy, but it's like, yeah. I guess my only gripe is I grouped all three of the advanced games together. I just don't agree with this. I think Advanced 2 definitely needs to be a misery tier. Or good challenge. Man, maybe just misery. But then Advanced 1 and Advanced 2 could probably stay down here or something. I don't know. Anyway, lastly, I originally I was gonna do 2 videos, but I just found this third one when I was trying to gather up the 2. This is ranking Supersonic songs worst to best by the Z-Man Show. So yeah, I think we're gonna have some fun with this one. Let's see.
Supersonic final bosses are almost always the biggest, most epic moment in any Sonic game. The big climax of the story and an awesome super transformation make...
I think and by the way, I think the songs from Frontiers are probably just gonna I think the songs from Frontiers are probably gonna take like a lot of top spots.
The scene really awesome. But
I know it's like a lot of Crush 40 songs that are pretty good.
The Sonic series has some of the best music in gaming, and the Supersonic songs are no exception to that, mostly. So today I wanted to rank the songs from the 3D mainline games from worst to best. The rules are simple. We'll only be ranking the songs from the 3D mainline games because of the inherent larger, grander scale. This is also just Supersonic songs, so no excap.
Okay, so he's not gonna like do like the 2D like classic Sonic like Supersonic themes like all right.
And no Dark Spine. And lastly, we're looking at the songs that play.
He's excluding the storybook.
To do with the story of the game. So Lost World, Colors, and excuse me, Forces, which only have Supersonic as an unlockable feature, won't count. So without further ado, let's look at the worst Supersonic song. Just like in my ranking
I don't like this song, and I hate this boss fight. That's what drags it down a little. I freaking love the stages of that game, but Time Eater, oh my god. Looks like a homing shot, Sonic. Sonic, watch out, a homing shot. Be sure to change...